The LA Lakers are heading off to Cancun. Their season is done after falling to the Nuggets in 5 games in the first round of the playoffs, after having championship aspirations going into the season, knowing it could very well be the final year of LeBron James in LA. They now face some very tough decisions heading into the offseason after regressing from going to the conference finals last year, while also having one of the highest payrolls in the league and approaching the second apron of the luxury tax. And of course, the biggest question of them all is what's next for LeBron James? Will he opt into the final year of his current deal to stay with the Lakers? Maybe he opts out and re-signs for a longer-term deal. Will he opt out so he can be a free agent and go wherever his son Bronny gets drafted, if he gets drafted? And of course, the suspense was all the more heightened when he gave this response to the media shortly after being eliminated by the Nuggets.
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
LeBron James, no stranger to drama or headlines, but what if I told you that LeBron's future is actually much more certain and pretty clear compared to the future of the Lakers roster as a whole? A big shakeup that could change the landscape of the league for an offseason eerily similar to that of 2019 after LeBron's first season in LA where they missed the playoffs. What do I mean by that? Well, let's talk about it further. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, it would mean a great deal to me if you subscribe to help the channel grow, and in return, I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, look, it's no secret that LeBron James is not happy with the results of the Lakers season. Like, the man wants to win his 5th title, and he knows he only has so many years left to be able to do it. And like we have seen from LeBron James in the past, a player that has so much power, influence, and sway in every front office for every team he's been a part of, he will do his best to assert his authority and get what he wants from this Lakers team going forward. This will be the most aggressive GM we have ever seen this summer. And let me ease all of those Laker fans who maybe are a little worried by LeBron's response that he's not going to answer that question as far as whether or not this is his last game that he played with the Lakers. LeBron is not going anywhere. He's going to stay with the Lakers. He will more than likely decline his player option, but he's going to re-up for an even longer-term deal, which for the record I think would be a mistake on the Lakers' part considering LeBron is going to be turning 40 next season. But the Lakers know it's in their best interest from a revenue and viewership perspective to not only keep LeBron James on their team even if he starts to decline, but also have a chance to put together the first ever father-son duo on the same team, which of course will draw major headlines, ratings, all kinds of attention. They want that. They don't want LeBron to leave to go play in some small market because that's the team that drafted Bronny. Let's be honest, LeBron doesn't want that either. As much as he said he's going to go wherever Bronny gets drafted, he doesn't want to go play in Charlotte or Portland or Detroit. No, he wants to be in one of the biggest markets in the league and the most historic franchise if he can help it. And guess what? He can. LeBron James has the ability to move mountains in this league to get what he wants. Not all the time, but for the most part. He has enough influence if he really wants it. The front office will do what they can to make it happen. Now let's start with some of the basics. This comes from ESPN's Bobby Marks outlining the max that LeBron can sign this offseason. He can either decline his player option and re-sign for 3 years at $162 million, or he can still opt into that final year but work in an extension to the deal for an additional 2 years, which would make the 3-year total, including the player option, to be a little over $164 million. Negligible difference between the two, at least relative to what LeBron has made over the course of his career. But LeBron could essentially make $2 million more if he goes the opt-in route and extends for 2 years. Either way, LeBron is going to be signing for one of these options. He's not going to opt out of his final year and then just play on a vet min deal wherever Bronny gets drafted. And he's not going to take some kind of insane discount to stay with the Lakers either. He knows other teams will offer him more as a free agent on the market. That's why I have absolute confidence that LeBron is going nowhere. As much as he likes to give cryptic messages that he's leaving, there's just too much there for him in LA. He likes the big lights, he knows that he can get the most money staying in LA, and he knows LA will give him whatever he wants as it relates to constructing the future of this roster. And for the Lakers, they're a bit beholden to LeBron. They're more or less irrelevant without him. Now, as I said just a few minutes ago, I think it would be a mistake for the Lakers to give that kind of deal to LeBron where they'll be paying him max level money when he's 42 by the end of the contract. When you look at their financials and what they have on their books, not just for next season, but for the near future, they already don't have much cap flexibility as it is. If LeBron opts in, they already have $182.5 million in committed salary going into next season. This also assumes D'Angelo Russell picks up his player option, which I'll get to that as well. But at $182.5 million, they're already over the first apron in the luxury tax and just $7 million shy of hitting that second apron. And like we talked about before, the downside of being a second apron team is that you don't have the ability to use your full mid-level exception, you can't sign any players off the buyout market, and you can't take back or send out cash in any trade. You also cannot aggregate contracts in a trade, and you can't send out your first round pick 7 years out into the future, which teams under the second apron can do all of those things. And so if I'm the Lakers, I'm looking at that and saying, man, we're really going to be putting ourselves into a hole here if we sign LeBron to a 3-year extension, because we know he's eventually going to decline and or retire. At least you would think. We've all been saying that for years now, but he's eventually going to start falling off. Do we want to have that much money committed for a guy who isn't going to be around long term? And look, this conversation would be a lot easier if LeBron had showed some serious signs of regression this season. And yeah, I know his defense has fallen off quite a bit and he's not as athletic as he once was, but did you guys see LeBron James in Game 5 against the Nuggets? Man was doing a bit of everything to try to keep his season alive. Was hitting threes, getting downhill in transition, was playmaking with precision passes, hit some big shots down the stretch. Now, I know he missed a pretty big box out on Aaron Gordon that got the Nuggets ahead in the final minute of the game, but the point is LeBron is still playing at a high level. He's still a star in this league, and he's going to expect to be paid like one, and he knows he has the leverage because he can decline and just walk in free agency. So in this case, we'll say LeBron stays. As I said, the more certain transaction for the Lakers this offseason is LeBron staying, but everything else is up for grabs. Now, if you remember the 2019 offseason, the Lakers were in heavy pursuit of Anthony Davis from the Pelicans, and while they tried to make a deal work at the deadline, they weren't able to get it done. And they knew they had to get something done during the offseason, especially after LeBron had missed his first playoffs since his early days with the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron didn't come all the way to LA just to be sitting at home watching postseason basketball, and so they went all in, doing away with their youth and future and draft capital by trading multiple unprotected first-round picks and pick swaps to the Pelicans, as well as Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, and DeAndre Hunter, who was selected as the 4th overall pick in that draft, all for Anthony Davis. They also signed DeMarcus Cousins, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, Alex Caruso. They built the team LeBron wanted, and it got them a championship that season. I expect something similar to occur with the Lakers this offseason. Not necessarily all the fringe free agency signings like we saw in 2019, but I do suspect a blockbuster trade to be in order. An all-in type push for at least one last-ditch effort to keep LeBron happy and win him another title, which means all of their young players, including their upcoming draft pick at number 17, is on the table. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Vanderbilt, Cam Reddish, Max Christie, JHS. They even might look to dump Gabe Vincent. Not that a lot of these guys have value at the moment, but aggregating some of these contracts and attaching assets like their number 17 pick and even their first round pick in 29 and 2031 to make a deal enticing enough for a team that is looking to head in another direction. Maybe a player like Trae Young, as it's pretty clear the Hawks need to retool and need picks for their future given they traded away most of them to the Spurs for DeJounte Murray. Maybe they try to pursue Donovan Mitchell if his future in Cleveland seems uncertain with how the postseason has been going thus far. Maybe even Mikal Bridges from Brooklyn, not that he's on the same tier as the other guys I just mentioned, but a great two-way player that can give you some versatility on offense. And look, I wouldn't even rule out a blockbuster trade in which they move on from Anthony Davis. I don't think it's likely, but imagine if Joel Embiid, after getting knocked out of the first round, demands a trade from the Sixers, which I don't think is out of the question, and the Lakers go all in to put Embiid and LeBron together by including Anthony Davis in a deal that would send him to the Sixers. Or I look at other teams that have fallen short of expectations like the Phoenix Suns. If they pivot and go in another direction, will the Lakers try and pair LeBron with Kevin Durant or even Devin Booker? Again, in these instances, Anthony Davis would need to be included in a trade for superstar caliber level players. I think it's unlikely because AD had a great season where he was finally healthy for the whole season, but maybe the Lakers will try and capitalize on AD's trade value being high right now, whereas before, teams were probably a little more wary of taking on any kind of deal because of his injury history and contract. But if trading Anthony Davis now means it can land them a superstar level player who is either disgruntled or a team looking to move their star to try and acquire assets, then I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility. Now, as it relates to Bronny James, well, first and foremost, I made a whole video on this. I don't think he's an NBA level player, and if he wasn't LeBron's son, he wouldn't even be close to being considered by an NBA team as a draft prospect. But second, I've seen some people say, well, what if some team just drafts Bronny ahead of the Lakers because they know it means they'll get LeBron? One, the Lakers have a late second round pick, which is where I suspect Bronny will land even if he gets drafted. And two, if a team in fact drafts Bronny before the 55th pick, which is when the Lakers have their pick, or the Lakers get any indication that he's going to go earlier, they will absolutely trade up in the draft to be able to get him or make a trade with whatever team ends up drafting him, which means they would have to give up assets just to get Bronny James, which is ridiculous. But if LeBron wants it, they will make it happen. So there is no doubt in my mind that Bronny, one, will be drafted, even though he's not even close to being NBA ready. And if he isn't drafted by the Lakers, he will somehow end up on that team. I would be shocked if Bronny goes to another team and LeBron ditches the Lakers for him. Absolutely shocked. So in short, I think there is no question LeBron remains in LA. Bronny will join him as well as another star or even superstar level player in a blockbuster trade deal. I could see both Reeves and Hachimura being included in the deal. D'Angelo Russell, I mean, his situation is interesting because he actually has a lot of control and leverage over the Lakers right now. If he opts out of his contract to go play somewhere else, that puts the Lakers in a bind to be able to use his salary to match trade offers. But if he opts in, that could also very well put them over the second apron, at least to start the season, if they aren't able to include him in a trade. I personally think he's going to opt out because he just never really seemed happy in LA this season. He'll opt out and look for a longer term deal, even if it's on less annual salary, and hope to have a bigger role in the offense. But we'll have to wait and see, because if he opts out, it could make things tricky for the Lakers to do some big trade or go star hunting when they need D'Lo's salary to be able to match an offer in a trade. But regardless, it's going to make for a very interesting offseason for the Lakers and how they shake up this roster after a disappointing season. I would love to hear what you guys think. What do you think this team will look like come training camp? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.